What is up, guys? Cedar B here with Rare Privilege Raids, coming at you with another war recap. And we're going to go over the Pinoy Wapakales. Extremely close war, as you can see, 53 to 53, 89.85% total destruction on our end, 89.70 on their end. Within the last 2.5 hours or so, there was 17 attacks. And it was just back and forth. If you look at where are we at? In the last 2.5 hours, they got 5 attacks and got a few stars, and then from there it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. With that being said, we're gonna get right into the attacks. We got 5 of them to go over today. One is going to be the last attack by Win, getting us the win. So let's watch JR taking out this base. He's going to drop a Quad Quake right in the center, followed up by 2 golems on the 1 to 2 o'clock side of the base. Quad Quake goes down, opens it up, drops the golems, and a few wizards just to create the funnel. Funnel gets created, drops a few wall breakers. Those go in. Not sure why he dropped a few more. I think he wanted them to actually go into the next set of walls, but for some reason they ended up targeting that wall right there. But with that being said, Kill Squad starts moving in. Lava Hound in the CC is popped, so that's no longer a threat once the pups go down. He decides to drop his Valks at that point. They start working into the base, get under that rage spell, takes that out, drops the freeze spell, drops the freezes one of the multi-inferno towers, takes out those quad Teslas in the core, takes out the Archer Tower expos. Everything is just going down extremely quick. And at this point, it's just a time game. So his queen is at full health, hasn't even popped the ability yet. Excuse me, guys. And his Valks are just going to be through the core with the rest of the kill squad. Everything just kind of worked together nicely, and that really helped him get the 3-star. So we're going to fast forward through the rest of this cleanup. Now, had this been a higher level Town Hall 10 defense-wise, would have been a little bit more hairy, but those Inferno Towers were still level 3, I believe, so no joke as far as that's concerned. Next up, we have Cookie Poo taking on 8. Coming in with Quad Quake, Stoned Goho, and there's going to be a lot of Gohos in this recap, but it worked. So if you're having trouble with Quad Quake Gohos, take note from this. Watch how these guys are doing it because they're getting very comfortable with it. So drops their Quad Quake right there, opens everything up to the core. Corner of the base is opened up, so didn't even need the couple of wall breakers, but he wanted to make sure that golem was going to get in, but it did reroute. One note I would like to make is watch Jake from One Hive's golem spacing or rerouting video that he has. It's going to go in depth as far as when the golems will reroute, how far they will be, and that will help you determine if you need to bring an additional jump spell or a couple of wall breakers to get through that wall, etc. So keep that in mind. Go watch that video. But once the kill squad gets through the core, everything's working through. He decides to just start his surgical deployment on the hogs. Drops a couple on the few outlying point defenses, and they're just going to gradually kind of group together as he drops a heal spell once that Archer Tower goes down. At that point, he's got 4 hogs and 1 heal spell. He hangs on to those last 4 hogs until later in the raid. He's going to drop them up here on that Archer Tower where those double giant bombs are, and it's going to eliminate the pathing to them for the latter part of the raid, which does end up saving him because those 4 hogs do end up pathing over the double giant bomb and triggering it, so cleanup later is not in jeopardy. So look at that. Great job, and he only actually ended up losing 1 hog to that. So we'll fast forward through the cleanup. Great job, Cookie Poo. And next up we got Chuck Chuck taking on number 9. Chuck Chuck stepping up from number 11. Good job, buddy. Coming in with another Quad Quake. Go-ho. And he's going to drop it on that junction right by the queen. Let everything open up just right up to the core. Going to drop the Rage spell for the CC. But a quick note I would like to make is notice the number of wall breakers. And notice how close the golems are spaced together. 3 wall breakers is all you need. Take away those 2 wall breakers. That's another wizard. If you had an archer, that could be another hog. That could be a giant for tanking for your surgical deployment. That could be a number of things. So look for that in your army composition, because you need to bring 1 additional wall breaker to how many wall breakers it will take to get through that wall in general. The reason why, if there was a wall breaker deployed right here, both of them at the same time, Springtrap goes off, they're gone. How are you going to get through that wall? So that's why you bring 3. So you'd bring 1 just to drop there, see if it gets to the wall. If Springtrap is triggered, great. Now you know you can send in the remaining wall breakers and get in untouched. Now, the reason why I make that note is because that is wasted troop space. And you'll see here that his 2 golems do reroute to the same place from the same wall breaker opening, even though they do go down. The thing that is great about this entry is he does the stoned entry correctly. He deploys 2 golems, and every base does call for something different. This does not apply to everything, but dropping 2 golems to create the funnel is usually all you should need. Once the funnel is created, you open up the compartment to let the golems into the compartment to that next defense, followed up by the next golem. And then if you were bringing Valks, you would follow them up with Valks, followed up by the late king. Or if no Valks, followed up with some wizards, followed by the king and the queen, as he does in this attack. So not picking on Chuck Chuck, just pointing it out. That is that is something you want to be looking for and be aware of. So, like I said, golems end up rerouting. Golem on the bottom goes to the cannon, golem on the top goes to the archer tower. Max golem is followed up, as we talked about, very great for the deployment and the entry of the troops into the base. And at this point, he just drops the rage. CC is coming out, and those wizards are going to tear through them like a hot knife through butter. And pops the king ability. Enemy queen goes down, and he's going to come in here with a 2-finger drop, which is just fantastic, because he's going to let this section just take out this top portion of the base. Doesn't need a heal for it, doesn't need anything like that. These hogs down here on the right are going to be the remaining benefit of these last 2 heal spells. So let's watch how he does it. And the kill squad is still going, still got a golem up. Queen is still pounding away, but as you can see, these hogs are just moving through the base, taking out the defenses, taking out the threats, doing everything they need to get the 3-star, and he does. So they move up to that Tesla, take that out, hop over the wall, drops another heal spell, and that's another thing that we've touched on in other videos is bases with very compact defenses. Even though it is easy to come in with an all-hog attack like like we're actually going to go over in this next attack, even though it is easy to do that, it does also matter. You can't be naive to the fact that all of the damage is so close together that you can't spread them too thin. You wouldn't want to do a surgical style deployment on a very compact base. You would want to keep everything very, very tight knit, very together. maybe a 2-finger drop at the most, but most likely a 1-finger drop. If you brought 25 hogs, you drop 15 to maybe 20 at the most, and save maybe 8 to 5 in the bag. And that's just for like Cookie's last attack, where he took out that exposed double giant bomb set and made it a non-threat for the remaining portion of the raid. So keep an eye out for that stuff. But like I said, we're gonna look at KM. Where is he? There we go. KM's attack. And another reason I want to show this, very, very popular TH8 intranet style base. So if you've seen this before, this is how you can beat it. Another way that you can beat it is, as I was just saying, all hogs. Due to the way this is laid out, you can see there are only 3 threatening sections in the base, and that's going to be up here, down here, and down here. Best way to combat this when you see it, and anytime you see this on a raid, 1 hog. If there ends up being a trap there, if there ends up being a bomb there, if there ends up being a giant bomb there, if there ends up being skeleton traps there, the amount of value you get for just that 5 troop space just to deploy it, you'd want to deploy it down here, so it had a diagonal entry into this cannon, or or into this wizard tower, and you'd want to do that for obviously this side as well. Maybe drop it over here where kind of where the arrow is actually, and that would take it into the archer tower, possibly deploy a giant bomb, etc. And with that, once the CC is dead, a king is not going to pose really that much of a threat to a max hog attack on a base like this. Once everything groups up and everything's under heal the full time, because of the way it's compacted, it's really not going to be that much of a threat. So regardless of that, you can still come in, practice, with 2 golems, what you're comfortable with, but don't be afraid to step outside that box. Don't be afraid to say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna try this. I think this is gonna work. Don't limit yourself and say, you know what, I only have to build this army style because I know this worked last time, and if I, build a different army and I go in there with an attack that's a little bit more different or off the hinge, everybody's gonna look at me funny. They're gonna think I don't know what I'm doing. That doesn't fucking matter. If somebody says that to you, you address them in the clan chat, and if the clan ends up backing up a foul statement like that, then it's time to travel. There's no reason you need to be around people like that. Do what makes you happy. This is a game. Yes, there is competition in it. Yes, it does matter. People do look at this as a hobby like I do, and I do want people to care about it, but at the same time, I want people to have fun with it. But as far as I'm concerned, my personal opinion, if you're gonna, come in with a crazy attack, think about it first, plan it out, have something, have a reason for saying, you know what, this attack, I'm only gonna bring 6 hogs. Well, why are you only bringing 6 hogs? Seeing an attack like that looks pretty crazy, but in the long run, it may work out to the benefit. I just posted an attack where, I attacked a ring base. I said in that video that I'm not the best at them, but I decided to sit down and pick it apart, and I crushed it. And I went in with, I think it was 10 hogs, ended up only using 6 of them to help out with the raid. And it was very, very successful. So it was a little off the hinge for me. I was a little apprehensive of doing the attack, but pull the trigger, guys. Don't be afraid to do it. This is a game. Have fun with it. The only way you're going to get better and get used to it is expanding and breaking from the norm. These friendly challenges that are going on right now are going to be the most beneficial thing that you can do. If you're a serious clasher and you like the strategy of this game and you want to be a better war player, it's going to show. Everybody in the clan is going to see that, hey, you know what, KM is in there freaking 4 hours a day just requesting challenges, just doing what he can to just try these new strategies, etc. So I think what's going on with Clash of Clans is great right now. I hope you guys do too. We're going to look at Win, bringing us the win right now. And let's see, I think it was Amir. Yep, right here. So I can't remember what the previous best on this was, but he came in, terrible base design, almost like a Town Hall 9 base design per se, but he comes in, decides to bring the Quad Quake, going to open it up here to take out that multi-Inferno Tower first, bringing in those Max Valks. Single Inferno Tower does pose a threat, but it poses... depending on the Inferno Tower setting, it's going to pose a threat in a different way. A multi-Inferno Tower obviously is going to lock onto multiple targets. If you're bringing multiple Valks, you don't want a third of your kill force to be locked onto that by that Inferno Tower, unable to heal, trying to bust through walls, etc. So that would be the highest priority. Now, if you're bringing 2 of them, maybe a free spell. I'm not trying to speak on Town Hall 10 or ever Town Hall 11 game too much because I have not been there. I've never placed an attack there, so what I say about Town Hall 10 attacks does not really hold much weight, but as far as the strategy behind it, coming in here with the idea to take out that multi-Inferno Tower is going to be the best option. This single Inferno Tower, if it's frozen, I mean, it's not going to do much anyway. It takes a second for it to lock onto one target, coming in with 16 in the troop space, and I think he does come in with another 4 from his clan castle, so that's 20 Valks. Coming in, a single Inferno Tower, possibly frozen for a second, Valks under rage, possibly under heal, just going through, doing what they're doing. It's not going to be that big of a threat once that multi is down. So, regardless of that, he doesn't even bring a heal. He was just going for the high percent 2-star, which he gets. So, drops the Quad Quake right on that compartment there, pretty much at, 4 o'clock. Drops his 2 golems, starts to create that funnel right there. Drops the wall breakers. Both golems are going to reroute, as we talked about. Waits for everything to open up. Giant bomb goes off, which is great. Dropped a couple more wall breakers. They're going to walk through, but because it was opened up by that Quad Quake, and again, wasted troop space. I can't remember how many wall breakers he brought, but if you brought 4 wall breakers and he dropped those right there, that's 2 wizards. Or that's another Valk. So things you have to think about. It's important because at the end of the raid, that extra troop space into an extra Valk may make the difference. It may take down that cluster of buildings down that much quicker. Don't be naive to that fact. So Win coming in, just rages it up, freezes it up, rages up the core. All the Valks are working through, that multi is down already. And, at this point, he's got an extra freeze to do whatever the hell he wants with. Decides to slow down some of that Tesla damage. And, just takes it out, starts just making everything last as far as it can before it starts petering out and ending out. So he ends up getting to 68%, does a great job, won the war for us. Like I said at the beginning of the video, won by 0.15%. So Win, bringing in the win. Great job, buddy. Keep doing it. I like what I'm seeing. I'm sure everybody else in the clan does. Coming in for that clutch victory. So, to everyone else out there, Cedarby with Rare Privilege Raids. Out until next time.